Hello, listeners, to Alan Feldman's Infinite Potential podcast, where we interview business owners, entrepreneurs, nonprofit directors, and impact seekers to uncover their story for greatness and to help you realize the infinite potential we all have. And so today I have with me Laura from Ultimate Fashions. She has two shops, one in the Staten Island Mall and one in the Woodbridge Mall, and she has a very interesting history. She started out actually being part of the construction project for the Staten Island Mall, um, which was in the 80s. And then from there, her passion for clothing um, blossomed into her creating the store. Um, and so now she is actively um, even now going on Facebook, doing different Facebook Live, promoting her products. And so today we're going to talk about how she got started, um, where she got her passion from, what careers she's had in the past, and then talk a little bit about the business and marketing lessons that we can learn from what she's doing now. So, Laura, thank you for being with me today.
You are very welcome, Alan. Hi.
Hello. Okay, so let's get right into it. What type of person were you as a kid? What creative pursuits did you engage in, and how did you develop your passion and interest in fashion?
I started out actually in high school working with Alexander's. I started there. I was 16 years old. I worked in their ladies department back in Brooklyn in Kings Plaza,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed, sizing people. And I worked different departments. I worked ladies. I worked men's. I worked the cashiers, and did different things in the store. And they were a lot of fun because I liked being busy and active. Later, I went to Catherine Gibbs, where I got an education in secretarial, and I basically sat behind the desk where I met a lot of very famous people. I worked
Mm-hmm.
for Jerry Lewis, I worked for David Rockefeller, and then I ended up with a job in construction with Morse Diesel Construction, actually, and they took me and put me into the Staten Island Mall when they were putting together the upper level, when it was originally the lower level and the honeycomb,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went to having an upper level with Herman's, and we connected the whole upstairs to the rest of the mall and made a food court. And I really enjoyed working for the Rouse Corporation. It was a lot of fun. Um, I worked with Ben Levine, uh, Denise Garbarino, and we had a blast. I left there and I went to go work down at Bay Street for the Bay Street Landing Project, where we took the warehouse and we were making the condos, which are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having a great time until I got pregnant with my son in 1982 and had to leave construction. While I was pregnant with my son, my cousin had created something called the Crazy Pants, which, if you know anything about them, they were gym pants.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gone into the mall and I had spoken to Denise Garbarino, and I said to her, listen, I've got a great item my cousin wants to sell and I'd like to sell them to someone. Who can I contact to sell them? And she says to me, well, you like working with people, you enjoy selling, you're very good at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you open up a cart? She said, see if your cousin will do something with you and let's see what we can work with. And the next thing I knew, I was selling the pants in the mall for $250 a month rent. But while I was pregnant, I couldn't work any longer in the at the down at Bay Street because there was
Yeah.
construction flying.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten a hold of some friends of mine that one owned a pocketbook company, one owns a clothing company, and I started doing house parties where you guys used to have Tupperware parties. We had house parties with
Mm-hmm.
clothing. So you would give the hostess a percentage of whatever you sold. My friends used to go, hey, listen, we'll give you the pocketbooks on consignment. Here's 2 dozen bags. Take orders, bring the orders back to us or sell them on site and whatever you could sell. The next thing I knew, the parties were really good. And one of the girls said, hey, why don't you come? I go to St. Pat's. Why don't you come and open up the trunk of your car? And maybe people will buy out of the trunk of your car because there's more people to come out and then you can book more parties.
Yeah.
So one thing led to another. And the next thing I knew, I was selling pocketbooks and clothes out of the trunk of my car. My son then became 2 years old and I couldn't any longer really do too much. So at that point, the pocketbook parties went into house parties, and it just started to expand.
Mm-hmm.
When my cousin approached me with these crazy pants, my son was already in nursery school, and I said, okay, well, let me go to the mall and take a look and see what we can do with this. And Denise recommended, why don't you try a cart? So the next thing I knew, I started a cart selling crazy pants. Crazy pants started fading out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody started buying them.
Yeah.
So I picked up some outfits, and back then we did something called the bedazzler.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked up some blank outfits in different sizes, and we
Mm-hmm.
used to stand there and stud them or paint them or put bows and ribbons. And then somebody said to me, wow, this is a great idea. Now
Mm-hmm.
I got pregnant with my daughter. And the next
Yeah.
thing I knew, I said, oh, let me make mommy and me outfits. So the mommy that ended up having just the mommy outfits in different sizes all of a sudden brought in little girls' outfits to match mommy. Because
Mm-hmm.
back then it was the cute thing to do.
Yeah.
Then I made friends with somebody. His last name was Scott, and he started to make the denim jackets. So we were airbrushing jackets, and we did Vegas, New York City skyline, Atlantic City. I designed the one with the Barbie doll, which my daughter is now 32 and she still has. Ninja Turtles were out back then. My two boys still have the original Ninja Turtle jackets,
Oh,
and they're
wow.
so tiny. The
Mm-hmm.
jackets are like 30 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but Michael Scott doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So the three jackets that they have are adorable. And then, like I said, the little kids' jacket, everything started to match.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I know, I had gone through a bad divorce with three kids. And I decided, okay, well, one thing was dying out. So I started getting into Laura Rogers, who is a friend of mine. She started making button down shirts and mommy and me outfits. So rather than me standing there and making them, now I started buying them.
Yeah.
Still working out of the cart at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was raising the three kids on my own. Again, I was going through a bad divorce. I met my husband through the Staten Island Advance, and we got remarried. We came out to Jersey, where I opened up and I closed Staten Island,
Yeah.
and I opened up in Woodbridge, and I was still in a cart.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I hooked up with another company that was making me tie-dye sweaters and pants. So I started selling those, and then tie-dye short sets and all that stuff. And then the next thing I knew, there was an opening for a possible store. So I negotiated with the mall manager to try to open a tiny little store, which was about 800 square feet. And this was in about 2011. So where I started very tiny, selling out of the trunk of my car, we
Mm-hmm.
went to an 800 square foot store. And my daughter at that time was now turning 15. I had another little girl that was like 8 years old, but my 15-year-old now needed a Sweet 16 dress. So all of a sudden now, every time I had a child or there was an occasion,
Yeah.
or changed to what I needed. So I approached one of the designers and I was able to get her a Sweet 16 dress.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I knew, she needed a prom dress. So all of a sudden, I went from casual clothes to formal wear. And the whole store just kept evolving and evolving. And then when I had my son getting married, I went to bridal gowns. So the store became this little miniature department store and could no longer survive in 800 square feet.
Yeah.
So we expanded in Woodbridge. And in the meantime, most of my customers were Staten Island customers because that's where my heart was, because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I ended up reopening in Staten Island. Originally, I reopened on Amboy Road, which is next to the Sunbelievable Salon.
Yes.
And then Patricia's came in, and because they were such a busy restaurant, they ended up taking up most of the bulk of the parking lot where my
Yeah.
customers can come in. I mean, their food is phenomenal, but the parking was not substantial for them.
Yeah.
They were killing everybody. So what ended up happening is I looked to go back to my roots, back to the Staten Island Mall, where we reopened. And we were downstairs outside of Macy's in the Mandy spot.
Mm-hmm.
The mall then renovated, and they put us upstairs and gave us the double old hair salon that was upstairs, and we took that, and that's where we are since. So the store just keeps changing, but the stores both carry christening, communion, prom, eighth grade dinner dance, sweet 16, quinceanera. We've got everything. Mother of the bride, there's bridal, and if there's something I don't have, we get it. And I went from no seamstress to three seamstresses, from a cart, well, from the back of my car to a cart
Mhm.
to two stores.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really an amazing story because even kind of looking at it, you mentioned that throughout the course of your kind of family life, it seems like the universe just kind of conspired itself to give you exactly what you needed in that moment, which um, I'd like to acknowledge you for that because obviously you have to pick up that the universe has given you those things, and you did along every way. Um, but it's a really fascinating note that, and this is something I'd like to ask actually is, so you mentioned that you worked at Alexander's when
Yes,
you were 16.
yes.
So
That was my first job.
yeah, when I see that, and comparatively, you had a construction job right after college. Was
Well, no,
there?
right after college, actually, I became a Kelly girl. And as a
Mm.
Kelly girl, I went from they put you, because I went to Catherine Gibbs,
Yeah.
and most of the girls that graduated were all fighting to go downstairs downtown to Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to go down to Wall Street, and I didn't want to be in a secretarial pool.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends had owned a placement agency, and they said to me, "Listen, we can get more money for you than $175 a week because of your skills and where you're coming out of. And why should you fall into the spot as everybody else where we can
Yeah.
move you somewhere else?" So
Mm-hmm.
as a Kelly girl, I went to go work. I worked for Jerry Lewis for a while. I worked for David Rockefeller, like I said, which was kind of boring because his office was like there was nothing going on. And all I was doing was sitting and answering phones. And I just felt like I liked people and I liked to have a personality and have contact.
Yeah.
So I really didn't like sitting in the office doing nothing. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite job, actually, when I went to work, was working at the construction company for Morse Diesel. I did Allendale Industrial Park.
Mm-hmm.
I did the Tombs. Um, I did the Vista Hotel in between the Twin Towers, which is
Mm-hmm.
gone. I did I mean, I worked for a lot of famous people. I enjoyed it. I worked for Trump Towers for a while. I mean, I enjoyed it. They were temp jobs and they were great. I worked for an attorney because
Mm-hmm.
as a Kelly girl, they give you, and as a Gibbs girl, they give you a lot of opportunity to work different places.
Yeah.
So back then, my steno was at 175, my typing was at 110, and you were in demand. So rather than going down to Wall Street, like I said, I got more money
Mm-hmm.
working on my own than
Yeah.
going through what they were going to place me.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up putting me was a fluke was my cousin coming up with these pants that just went from one thing to the next to the next. And the next thing I knew, I was doing dresses with because my daughter needed a prom dress and a sweet 16 dress. But the ironic part of it all was my youngest decided to try being a pageant girl, which now opened me up to pageants, which I had never done
Mm-hmm.
because she wanted to compete. So with her competing, you start meeting a lot of different people, a
Yeah.
lot of different backgrounds, body shapes and types, and knowing how to do construction and put up the walls and how to do measurements and well, how many studs and how many this and how many that. Well, it's not so easy to look at somebody and say, okay, I want a size 2 dress. Well, what if you're not a 2? What if by some chance your dress is not the right proportions?
Yeah.
A size 28 waist in Giovanni is a 6, and a 28 waist in a Sherry Hill is a 12. So somebody saying to me, this is my size, I try very politely to say, listen, I need your measurements, or
Yeah.
I need to take your measurements, or this style is really not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try something else. Or you know what? This is what you came in asking for. How about being a little open minded? You don't need to buy what I'm suggesting, but let's see how it works. and then you can go from there. If you
Yeah.
hate what I've picked, that's fine. We can sell you what you're asking for.
Mhm.
The biggest thing with me is all recommendations. I love when the girls love how they look,
Yeah.
and you've been following my page, so you know that even when I'm doing a fashion show
Mhm.
with Partners in Sound, with High Energy, with Sound Explosion, with Grand Plaza, with any of the vendors, you can see that we make sure the girls are perfect, right
Yeah.
down to their hair, their makeup. Everything has to match.
Yeah.
I'm just that crazy that way.
I wouldn't say that's crazy. I just think, um, I mean, that's the way you have to be when, and that's how you generate a lot of business is because you you tell the customer how it is, and you tell them you look best in this, in my opinion, and I want you to have this because you look best in it. Um,
Correct.
Obviously, their decision is up to them, but approaching it from that way of like, okay, I see your figure, I see what we're dealing with here. This dress is best for you based on your body shape,
Well,
right?
some of the kids take it as an insult.
Yeah,
They call it body shaming. It's not body shaming to tell you what is appropriate for your body type.
yeah,
That's not body shaming. That's actually helping because I enjoy doing the personal shopping and telling someone, listen, well, what color do you think I should be wearing? Well, based on your hair and your skin tone, I think this color is going to look better than the color you suggestion. You're going to be washed out. You're going to laugh. I was a blonde all my life. I just did this.
yeah,
Um, I needed a different look. So it just changes things. What makes your Some people go, well, black is very appealing, makes you slender. Black actually doesn't make you slender. It's the color that pops you that makes it go to your face and make your features stand out is what is going to be the best thing for you.
yeah,
You want something that's going to flow to your body and highlight your best features.
yes, yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask, and you mentioned, um, I'm forgetting the company name already, but with your cousin or aunt, and the gym.
California body pants.
Yes, there we go. So I want to know, when did that idea get brought up? And you were working at the construction company at the time that,
No, actually, I was pregnant at the time with actually, I'd given birth to my son.
okay.
And my cousin came up with the idea of the pants.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me and he said to me, listen, I know you're out there. He said, and a lot of the companies are based out of New York.
Yeah.
And he said, why don't you, because at the time I was living on Staten Island in Heartland Village,
Mm-hmm.
he said, why don't you contact some of the companies and see if maybe you can get a hold of sales reps that might want to rep the line for him because he was actually the manufacturer and at the time was not able
Mm,
to sell them anywhere.
yeah.
So I was going to be like a repping agent
Mm-hmm.
at my own time, making appointments for him because again, I had a baby. I had a 2-year old. Jonathan was little. So at the time, I couldn't go out and work. I had
Mm-hmm.
nobody to watch the baby.
Yeah.
So I was making phone calls, making him appointments. It just so happened I went into the mall and I spoke to Denise Garbarino, who said to me, why don't you sell it?
Mm-hmm.
She said, you've got a great selling technique. You've got a good personality. Why don't you
Mm-hmm.
try and sell them? And that's exactly what happened. I ended up starting to sell them.
Amazing. Um, okay. And were there any other creative pursuits that you kind of that you took on as a kid that kind of got you to understand who you are?
You're going to laugh. I was valedictorian out of Madison High School, and I actually, and the kids that'll listen to this will be really impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I dabbled in a little of everything because I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I did after school. They had different programs at the high school at the time where you could go to school and get credit for going someplace and doing something.
Yeah.
So I tried teaching for 6 months, which that didn't work out because I said I'm sitting here doing homework when I'm going to be out of school because I have to do all kinds of paperwork and do exams and teach.
Yeah.
where I enjoyed the teaching aspect, I didn't
Mhm.
like having to sit there and write lesson plans that needed to get approved.
Yeah.
I was a whiz at math. I had a 99 on my math regent.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was very good at math. So I really wanted to focus on that, and that ended up not happening. I became I went to the Red Cross, and I was like a candy striper assistant at and at the hospital, at Coney Island Hospital.
Mhm.
And what happened was one of my patients that I had just brought back from physical therapy started to code. And when she coded and I lost my patient, believe it or not, I realized I didn't have the stomach to do that because I dealt with somebody dying in front of me. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not
Mhm.
doing this. I
Yeah.
can't do this. I don't have the stomach for this. So thank God, as a kid, I dabbled a little bit in everything to figure out what I wanted. Now,
Mhm.
I graduated high school early. And when I graduated from high school, I went to Kingsborough. And at
Mm.
the time, the teachers were all getting laid off because it was a bad scenario back then. And I sat in a room doing algebra, and I was gonna again, I was studying to be in accounting or
Mm.
a math teacher.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to sit here doing numbers all day long
Yeah.
and not talking to people, because I started working for Alexander's when I was 16, and I actually liked the interaction with people.
Yeah.
So I decided, because when I entered Kingsborough, it was January, because again, I was graduating high school early,
Yeah.
and the classes I needed were not being given until the following January because I came and I skipped a grade. So the classes that I needed, the teachers had been laid off. So now I'm fumbling around from June through January. And I said, all right, you know what? Let me go to the city and see if there's something I want to do. So
Mhm.
I went into New York and I started working at a temp agency, where they turned around and said to me, well, you really don't have skills. And at the time, I didn't. I would hut and peck, as they used to say, on the typewriter. They needed a minimum of 65 words a minute, and I was nowhere near that.
Yeah.
So I decided I was going to go to, at that point, I was going to end up staying out of school, starting school the following September, and going into Catherine Gibbs and saying, okay, well, maybe I want to become a secretary or an assistant.
Mhm.
So I went to Catherine Gibbs, and while you were at Gibbs, when you got out of school, because your school was 9 to 3, it was like a business. So you had to dress business appropriate in a skirt, with your nails a certain way, your hair a certain way. The skirt had to be past your knee,
Mm.
the proper shoes, because back then you're talking about the 70s, where everything was perfect.
Yeah.
And I dabbled in different secretarial positions, and I went for a lawyer, which it was boring. It was quiet, redoing the same paperwork over and over and over again with the same documents. And all I had to do was fill in names, and I'm going, this is not for me. I can't do this.
Mhm.
Then I went to go work in an accountant's office all day long with numbers. And again, not talking to anybody. And I said, I can't do this. So I graduated top 10 of Catherine Gibbs, which was kind of hard to do. I got my skills all the way up, and I started getting asked for, rather than them letting to place me.
Mhm.
I went over to Kelly Girls, and they were thrilled to have me, because when you have the Gibbs name behind you, they were like, wow, we can get you a lot more money than they're going to get you out of Gibbs, because you're talking about 200 students that you're competing against for the same jobs.
Mhm.
And I wasn't going into a secretarial pool.
Mhm.
It's like watching that new movie Figures. That's exactly what it was. It was a pool, and you were given work for the day, and I couldn't sit that way. That wasn't how I wanted to do things.
Yeah, right. And you just got magically placed into what
A
you do
construction
now
company
and
that I loved.
that you
That
loved.
I
Yeah.
loved working at that construction company. I worked for I worked for Ben Reinholtz. May he rest in peace. Was a dynamite man. I worked for John Johnson, who opened up his own
Mhm.
firm. He's now the head of Tishman Construction. Everybody started with Morse Diesel.
Yeah.
So HRH, Tishman, they all actually worked for Carl Morse to start with, before they all forked out into their own companies.
Mhm.
And I worked for all those people and I enjoyed the interaction. But Ben Reinholtz actually took me, him and Paul Rutger took me under their wings, and I no longer had to sit at a desk. They taught me how to read the plans, they taught me how to do bids. I was in the field. I knew how many studs, two by fours, thickness of sheetrock. There wasn't anything I didn't know, and I loved it. So I was out in the field, and like I said, I what ended up changing everything was I got pregnant, and I was down in the Bay Street job, and I couldn't stay on there with the construction falling and wearing
Mhm.
a hard hat being 6 months pregnant. So I had to walk in and ask Chris Jeffries to let me go. Chris was actually the owner of the A&P, and he owned at that time, I don't know if he still did or does, he owned Bay Street Landing.
Mhm.
So I would have meetings with him, with Ben, with it was just a lot of fun. I loved construction, and the clothing just fell into my lap.
Yeah.
After the mommy and me,
Mhm.
um, I actually had a friend of mine that was making my mommy clothing with the studding. Her name was Lainey. And
Mhm.
Lainey calls me up and she says to me, there's this new group called the Red Hat Society. I said, what the heck is that? She said, that's a bunch of old ladies all wearing red and purple. She said, but it's the newest thing out. She said, and you got to get into their groups. So
Mhm.
here I'm 40 years old and I'm starting to do again, sort of like a house party with all this red and purple stuff.
Mhm.
And they make me an honorary and they said, well, we're going to make you pink because you're not
Oh.
50. So I became pink and lavender red rather than red and purple because I was 40. And I was actually in that group for about 10 years. I met Donald Trump through that group. I actually worked for Vonnie Clark, who who she and I are still very good friends to this day, 22 years. Um, Vonnie was the president of the Red Hat Society down in
Mhm.
Atlantic City, who was
Wow.
his legal secretary down at Trump Plaza.
Mhm.
And Vonnie and I are still very good friends. And that's how I met a lot of these people. And the next thing I knew, like I said, everything changed as my family life changed, the
Mhm.
sport changed.
Yeah.
And now I was thinking about maybe going back to casual, but not at the way I had it before, because a lot of the companies that I had are unfortunately gone. The type of person I dealt with before was older. And now I think I want to gear more towards the younger person with casual. I'm not going to compete against H&M or any of those stores.
Mhm.
I'm going to have a little more dressier casual
Yeah.
than washing basically can't wear more than once or twice because sometimes you got to go back to your roots to keep yourself to survive or at
Yeah.
least until prom season comes back.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to see your opinion on prom season actually, since obviously when no one's really having prom right now. Um, and I know you've been generating sales with Ultimate Fashions, so I want to see your opinion on um, not really opinion, but are people buying dresses for now? Are they holding house parties? Are they kind of getting in now so that they can save it for when they suppose that prom would happen? What's going on with that?
Well, some of the schools have reached out to me. Some of
Mhm.
them are or may still have prom later.
Okay.
They're not completely canceled from what I'm
Mm.
understanding. Um, Unfortunately, with the social distancing and the fact that I'm in two malls and the malls are not open,
Yeah.
I've been advertising on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I've been posting, reposting. I've been going in doing videos and trying to generate sales. And then I make sure that I tell everybody, please give me a picture of what you look like.
Mhm.
I need your measurements. I want to make sure it's the right dress. And is it a lot of sales? No. It's enough to try to pay off some of the bills
Yeah.
that are out there to try to survive until I can make it to next prom season, which is what I'm looking to do. I've worked too hard and too long to get where I am. We
Mhm.
are known as one of the top three prom stores in the country. Um, and girls do shop more than one store. But when push comes to shove, believe it or not, they still come back to me. So I do have girls that'll go, oh, I'm going to South Jersey. Oh, I'm going to Long Island. Oh, I'm going here. And then they realize, wow, I took all that time and effort. And you know what? Everybody's got the same stuff. We all, what nobody seems to understand is that we're all selling the same dresses. And it doesn't matter where you're going. We all have the same product.
Yeah.
The difference is going to be who's going to give you a better deal, who's going to take care of you better. So that's going to be the difference. I mean, I'm very passionate at what I do. Um, and I said it before, can you call it body shaming? Well, that's the label they put on it. But the truth of the matter is, to me, it's making sure that I'm a perfectionist and you look perfect. I don't want to just sell you a dress because I have a lot of girls that'll come in after they've bought a dress from A, B, C, or D and go, oh my God, what was I thinking? I don't like this dress. I try to make sure nobody else has their dress.
Yeah.
I try very hard. I'm on everybody's social media. I follow every school and I try very hard at what I do. Um, there's no better way to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will go, oh, that lady is so rude.
Mm-hmm.
It's not rude. It's honesty. I'm not going to sell you something that's wrong. The best compliment I ever got was from Tottenville High School. And you're going to laugh. The answer was, oh my God, this woman is such a bitch, but I won't shop anywhere else. And it was posted all over social media. Why? Because I gave her the right dress. She came in asking for a dress. She put it on and she hated it when it came in. And she said, do I really have to keep this? And I said, if you really hate this dress this much, no, we'll get you something else. And no other store is going to give you that opportunity. We go above and beyond when it comes to that. If you hate the dress, if you've ordered it, as long as you've come in within a reasonable amount of time when the dress
Yeah.
comes in,
Yeah.
we will swap your dress out. And we're the only store in the industry that'll do that. And I'll stress, we like the fact that, listen, you're asking for this dress. I'm going to give you what you're asking for, but can you do me a favor? Try something else on. I just don't want you to go later, oh my God, what was I thinking? Because if you haven't tried on a variety of dresses, you
Mm-hmm.
have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know your options, you don't know what's going to be the best for you. Absolutely. Um, okay. So back to your story about when you went to Woodbridge, what caused you to leave Staten Island at that time and go to Woodbridge?
I was going through a very bad divorce, and the divorce had just gotten finalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I met my husband through the Staten Island Advance, and he was working in Jersey. He was working for ADP, and he needed to be closer rather than paying double taxes. He
Yeah.
needed to be closer to his work. So we ended up moving out to Jersey. But I had been approached for years to come out to Woodbridge, and Amy Delisano and Tessa Pierce were pleading with me to please come out. Tessa hasn't been working for a while. Amy is still in the mall. We are currently in the Woodbridge Center, believe it or not, 26 years. It was April 1st.
Oh, wow.
And before that,
That's
we were in
amazing.
Staten Island. Yeah, so we've been in business a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
My product does constantly change.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing dresses since 2015, actual prom dresses since 2015. Um, we started pageant dresses in, I'd say, about also around 2015 when my daughter got into pageants. So yeah, it got crazy, all because my daughter needed a dress.
That's an amazing transition to go from one person needs a dress to adding a full line of it to a store.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, the problem was my daughter wanted a dress we couldn't find in a store. So I contacted the designer,
Mm-hmm.
and the designer said, well, we'll tell you what, we'll get you your daughter's dress if you bring in the line. And the next thing I knew, I was selling prom dresses. It was so weird. It was 2005 when that happened, and it was just crazy. It just, The store just kept changing.
And did the other additions that you had to the store also, were they similar in the sense of you just you had that need, you called the place, and then they just offered out of the blue that we'd like to become a vendor for you?
Well, what ended up happening was I started out carrying Maury Lee because that was the dress that my daughter had as her dreams. She
Mm-hmm.
had to have it. And we this was in 2005. She had to have this magnificent Maury Lee quinceañera dress for her graduation,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a gorgeous dress.
Yeah.
And they turned around and they said, "Okay, well, guess what? We'll give you that dress. Not give it to you for free, but we'll give
Mm-hmm.
you the dress if you bring on the line, and we'll let you buy the dress for your daughter." I said, "Okay, great." The next thing I knew, customers started coming in when we brought in a small sampling of dresses going, "Oh my God, I love this. Can you get this? Can you get this? Can you get this?" So the next thing I knew is I started checking out some of these other companies,
Mm-hmm.
and this we got nominated as a top 10 prom store, not selling a lot of prom dresses, and became part of a group of prom dress companies. So we
Yeah.
started selling McDougal, Sherry Hill, and all of a sudden the next thing it just started to snowball. And my youngest, who's now going to be 25, at 15, decided, "I want to try a pageant." And I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me." So 2 weeks before the pageant, she says, "I want to try this." Well, I contacted MacDougall, and he sent me a dress for her to try and on consignment. So we kind of pinned it up underneath, and she had lost really badly. Out of 30 points, I think she got 21, which was low man on the totem.
Oh.
She did win for her singing, and she had done Wicked. She won for her singing, and this was co-ed with Tammy. And the next thing I knew, she comes off the stage and she goes, "I want to do this again." And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "I want to do this again, and I want to win. I want to do this till I win."
It's
I was
amazing.
like, "Okay." So the next thing I knew, I started contacting different vendors, and she sure as hell came in winning. She's won several sashes, several crowns. I'm very proud of her. And 3 years ago, I was dared to do a pageant. One of my girlfriends that owns a pageant said to me, "Why don't you go in as a mother daughter?" And I said, "Yeah, no way." My girlfriend Evelyn said, "Yeah, no, you listen, you coach the girls, you know how to dress them, you tell them what colors to wear, you tell them how to walk, you tell them how to talk." She said, "You're a natural coach without being a coach and without being paid."
Yeah.
She said, "So why don't you try entering a pageant?" So Evelyn decided to take me under her wing, and I won the pageant. I came out as Mrs. Maryland. I flipped. So we go down to Florida to go compete nationally as a
Mm-hmm.
mother daughter team. And when we get down there, the judges turned out I knew them. And I turned to the woman in charge and I said, "Sharon, listen, I can't compete nationally. It's not fair." I said, "I've got three of my really good friends that are judges. There's no way I can let them judge me."
Yeah.
So I went through the whole week. I should have actually won the pageant with a national title, but I didn't take it because, like I said, I went through it with nobody knowing that I eliminated myself.
Yeah.
So I did everything I was supposed to do. And, but when I got my scores, I knew I was supposed to win. So I felt really good about it. And Evelyn turned around and said, "You know what? You need to put your story out there," because I had been abused. I'm an abused ex-wife. I'm a survivor of cancer. Uh, she said, "You know what? You need to put your story out there." So she had a group called Next Level Youth, and Marissa and I did a mother-daughter pageant, which I became Mother of the Year. She became Daughter of the Year. And this year, Evelyn said, "You need to compete again." And I said, "You're nuts." She said, "You need to compete again." So I am currently Mrs. New Jersey Elite with Evelyn McLeod. And I mean, it's a lot of fun, but it also taught me how to train the pageant girls better because now I'm not sitting as a judge and I'm not sitting on the other side. I'm actually
Yeah.
on the stage And I can actually tell the girls, listen, I've been on both sides of this now. Win, lose, or draw, it didn't matter. I've been on both sides of this. And now I'm going to tell you how you can win the pageant and what you need to wear and how to catch the judge's eye
Mhm.
and what colors you should be wearing
Yeah.
and what colors you shouldn't be wearing. And it's a whole new ball game. One girl sent me a message while we're here during COVID, and she says to me, I want. And I said, okay, contacted the designer, and she actually came in second runner up with a Rachel Allen dress. I just sent the girl that just received her dress today from House of Woo. She's like, oh my God, I never would have bought this color. I got her a beautiful shimmery emerald green. And she's like,
Oh.
holy cow, I never would have worn this. And
Yeah.
I said, you've got to look at your coloring and look at your skin tone and see what you're looking at to know how you're going to look.
Yeah.
And it's just, and you know what? The way the building was standing because I accomplished something in my life,
Mhm.
I feel the same way with these girls. I've accomplished something. You may not take first place, but your comments and how you've competed and how you feel about yourself because you walk in the mirror every day, go, I like myself. That's what counts. You got to give yourself a certain amount of enthusiasm and you need to like yourself.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was the one that was made fun of. I had the buck teeth. I had the pimples on my face, which turned out to be an allergy, which we had no idea. Um,
Wow.
I went from a blonde to a redhead because I sat on the chair with A.F. Bennett, and Frank says to me, we're going to give you a whole new look. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. And he said, no, we're going to make you a redhead. And I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
He redid my makeup. And I had cut my hair because actually I had had cancer and I was afraid I was going to lose my hair. So my hair was actually really long and blonde. And I cut it before I went in for this hysterectomy. I
Yeah.
kept it short all this time. And I bumped into Frank at a Partners in Sound at Angelina's. And he said to me, my wife needs to do your hairstyle. I need to put you on the chair and show you how we're going to look. And I got to him for the day and he said, just close your eyes. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. He says, no, just close your eyes and let us do the rest of the magic.
Mhm.
And I couldn't believe the difference in the look. You've got to trust somebody to change you and to make you comfortable and confident.
Yeah.
And I wasn't comfortable. I was the ugly duckling all the years, and I was a size 22 all the years. And you just need to be able to change yourself, but you need to find the right person that can do it for you, and then
Mhm.
you can say, I love it or I hate it. But you need to like yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And a lot of these girls will go, this is what I want. Okay, well, let's put this color up against your skin tone. Is this really what you want? Can you trust me? Let's put something else on. If you still want that dress or that color, I will do that for you. But that's not what I advise. And like I said, some people can take it as a rude statement. Some people will sit there and go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
I've got every gambit on my reviews, from being rude to being, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, with a load of hearts. It's a matter of how you're interpreting how you're being treated. Somebody will go, oh my God, the store is too expensive. It's not expensive if you're looking for a Giovanni, a Sherry Hill, a Maury Lee, and you want the name brand. It's expensive if you're going to walk into Windsor
Mhm.
and pick out a dress for $89 to $159, or you're going to go to Jersey Gardens and go to Camille Levy where you're going to
Mhm.
get dresses. But if you're going to compare me to another bridal shop, I'm not more expensive. I
Yeah.
do have the right product. We don't overcharge. We're all price fixed. I'll throw in a free gift. I'll throw in a slight discount depending depending on what I'm looking for,
Yeah.
and go from there. I want the customer. I want you to come back and to see me and talk to me. I want you to see that we're here to help you.
Mhm.
But to look at the store and go, oh my God, this is too expensive to look at, or oh, she's overpriced. No, we're not overpriced for the quality of what we have. We're overpriced if you're going to walk into one of those other stores And it's not a bad thing if that's what
Yeah.
your budget is.
Mhm.
But it's like you going to buy a t-shirt. Do you buy one in Primark for 99 cents? Or do you go to J.C. Penney's and Macy's and buy a Hanes? That's the difference.
Yeah.
The difference is the fabric. The difference
Mhm.
is sewing. The difference is the fabrication. It's the materials that are used. But most people don't know that
Yeah.
unless they look, feel, and touch and see how they're treated to know
Mhm.
the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so let's go into talking about when did you realize the importance of social media and to what extent do you use it today?
Okay, so I don't know if you know who he is, but David Albertson. Okay.
Yes.
David Albertson at one time had a job in the Woodbridge Mall,
Mhm.
and he was in charge of advertising. And he sat me on the side and he took my phone and he said, "You need to learn how to do this."
Yeah.
And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "I'm too
Mhm.
old for this." He said, "You're not too old. I'm going to teach you." So he taught me Twitter and Facebook and then showed me Instagram. Now, do I do it right 110% of the time? No, I know. I still make mistakes. Listen, it's like the difference between having what I used to call a regular typewriter, where you typed on the buttons and did a manual return, to then having an IBM Selectric where you hit a button, to now sitting in front of a computer and dictating what you want to do,
Mhm.
and they will type out your words. Well, the same thing with social media.
Yeah.
It's taking and still taking a lot of time for me to learn what to do and how to do it. I
Mhm.
do it to the best of my ability. Doesn't mean I'm doing it right, but I do it to try to advertise. So
Yeah.
now I try hooking everything together. I I I I do the Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitter. I have 5 accounts. I
Wow.
have more than 5 accounts. I have 2 Twitters, I have
Mhm.
2 Facebooks. Actually, I have 3 Facebooks. I have 2 Instagrams because each one of my stores has their own, and I try to link everything together as I'm going. So when I'm on Instagram, there's a button that I learned I can push. So
Mhm.
now I don't have to post 7 times. I'm
Yeah.
posting twice.
Mhm.
So when I go onto Instagram in Woodbridge,
Yeah.
I slide the buttons over and it hits all my Woodbridge accounts.
Yeah.
And I go on the Staten Island and I slide the buttons over and it goes on all the Staten Island accounts. And I
Yeah.
just found all those little buttons about 2 weeks ago because before I was posting 7 times because I had no idea that there was one button that I could slide. And I hooked everything together. But I didn't know that before.
Mhm.
And the Zoom, this is the third time I've actually been on a Zoom. I didn't even know you could do this. So I actually Zoomed with a customer and told her how to do her measurements,
Oh,
which I had
amazing.
no idea about the Zoom thing either.
Mhm.
My daughter hooks me in every time I need it because I have one child still in the house. So I'm still learning about everything.
Amazing. Um, yeah, and that's also ironic given that it just fell on your lap, just like with everything else.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, okay, so a little bit about COVID. How has COVID affected your business? And are people still buying from you, and how are you going about doing it? What's the process?
Well, I've been trying to post on Facebook, Instagram, that we've got dresses. Unfortunately, a lot of the proms were canceled.
Yeah.
Some of them I'm hoping are going to be reinstated. I had told Anthony that I'm working on something for some of the girls that are not having prom.
Mm-hmm.
I do have something in the works with a couple of the teachers and my students that I've dressed. Um, and I've already spoken to a couple of different catering halls regarding this, but
Mm-hmm.
until everything is lifted, I don't want to put out what I may have in the works.
Yeah.
Being in the mall, unfortunately, I'm going to be one of the last people to be able to open, which is going to give me a bit of a problem. I can't, I can't very well bring people in to try them on. So again, I've been doing Zoom, I've been doing Facebook, I've been doing Instagram, and trying to get my customers by posting dresses of what's in stock or what I can order on a daily basis. And hopefully somebody contacts me and they message me and they go, okay, Do you have this? Well, I don't have that. Well, I'm a 2 or a 4, and then it turns out she may be a 6 or a 0, depending on her measurements. So I show her the chart and I'll say, okay, well, which size do you want? Because here's where your measurements are, and here's the size chart. Which way do you want to go on the size? Because I'm not making the last minute decision as far as what size to give them. I'll recommend what I think they should get, but I'm not going to be the final decision. Because if they feel I bought something too small or too big, I don't want them to think, where did you get those numbers from? So I'm messaging them the size chart in addition to asking them what they want. Um, the whole store is on sale. Anything that's in stock in the store, we are giving discounts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been posting every day what I have. So a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Is it enough to sustain? No. There's 3,000 dresses in each one of my stores that I need to get rid of. So if anybody needs anything and they want to contact me, they can contact me either through Facebook, an email, my Instagram. I don't care how they're doing it. They can definitely contact me. It's easy.
Okay, seems like a very straightforward process. Um, and I want to ask about the success of the Facebook video. So I know you have 3,000 dresses, so you pick out particular ones. Um, has there been a demand for specifically the ones that you've mentioned in the videos?
Some of them are. They're the
Hmm.
wrong sizes or the wrong color. So what ends up happening is I get stuck having to order their size or their color, and then I'm hoping I'm getting it in on time. Um, so most of the girls that had the dresses on layaway, we've been shipping them out to them because I brought most of them home with me.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've been okay. The customers have been very polite, very sweet. We've had no issues with anybody.
Hmm.
It's really been a great process. I mean, considering everybody's been very nice, nobody's been a problem. It's been terrific. It really is. Would I like to sell some more dresses? Absolutely. I don't know exactly when we're going to be open because we're in the mall, but the dresses that are in stock are on sale. I can't stress that enough. They're all on sale, and nothing that's a reasonable offer is being refused.
Amazing. So let's dive into vendor relationships, right? So obviously, um, you still have to pay the vendors for getting the dresses that you get and all the different outfits.
Yes.
So what are you doing in terms of that to maintain the relationship with the vendor? And are you
We've been
collaborating in any way?
We actually, I've got to tell you, the vendors have been terrific. I cannot complain. Giovanni and everybody has worked out a payment plan,
Mm,
and they're all taking a little here and a little there. So as I'm
mhm.
selling dresses that
Yeah.
belong to those particular designers,
Mhm.
I've been giving them a check. So I've been mailing out checks. I sold X amount of Giovanni dresses, and X amount of checks went out. If a customer ordered a dress,
Mhm.
and whatever the designer is, I've been taking that money and paying the designer plus a little extra to bring down the old bill. So if I have to order a dress that's a $500 dress,
Yeah.
I'm giving the designer 600 or 700. So I'm
Mhm.
paying for that dress plus a little extra towards the bill
Yeah.
so that I keep a relationship with them.
Mhm.
So as I'm selling dresses now, if the dresses that I have in the store have already been paid for, then obviously it makes things a lot easier because that
Yeah.
gives me a little extra money to work with.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
And right now we've been negotiating with the malls, trying to see what they're going to do for us for the rents. So we're not looking to go anywhere. We're looking to stay. I've been in business too long to go anywhere. I
Mhm.
just and I enjoy my passion, so it's just rough.
Yeah, I can imagine. Um, okay, that's actually all the questions I got. So one thing that I want to get back to. Um, so I appreciate that you were very supportive of your daughter doing all the pageants and stuff. So I'd like to talk about, because you talked about that you were a coach, sort of a coach for the kids, um, to help them pick out dresses, to raise their kind of self-awareness, I guess, and self-esteem about themselves. So I want to talk a little bit about, and this is the final question. What are some of the things that you have seen that you really like about pageants that it teaches to the kids that are participating?
Well, pageants unfortunately have a very bad reputation.
Mm.
Um, it's not just a pageant. It's not a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
It does teach the girls self-confidence.
Hmm.
Um, my daughter had an ugly duckling complex. Um, I went and took her into a beauty parlor, and she had that very curly, frizzy hair. So we took her into the beauty parlor, and we had her hair relaxed and straightened. We had her eyebrows done. I took her in. She had she had the braces put on, um, and we taught her how to put on makeup, and she was taught how to speak and enunciate. And in actuality, pageants build friendships and they build confidence. Everybody is there, aside from the competition portions.
Yeah.
They are very good friends. They are there through thick and thin to help you. And it's an amazing thing to see the bonds of some of these people that if you're having a depressing day, someone on Facebook or Instagram that you're friendly with, that's through the pageant will go, would you like to talk? Pick up the phone, call me, let's talk. You're
Mm.
having a bad day. Let's find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that you've built this friendship with these people
Yeah.
because they're there to listen. They're not there to judge you, but they're there to listen. And I find that to be an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, these girls, they've got it's called a sisterhood, and
Hmm.
it's a sisterhood for a reason.
Hmm.
They are there to help each other, and I'm not talking about the day of competition. I'm talking about they are there and they help each other. They help each other through things. My daughter was going through a very bad day,
Hmm.
and one of the judges and coaches from one of the other pageants said, your daughter's having a bad day. She posted something on Facebook I really don't like. I think you need to know about this and find out what happened. Turned out that um, it turned out that she had broken up with her boyfriend and she was depressed. But somebody reached a hand out to me to tell me, which I thought was terrific. They form a very strong bond, these girls, and it's an amazing thing. It really is. They
That's
help
an,
each other out.
and what are some of the competitions that are typically in a pageant?
Depending on the pageant,
Hmm.
some of them have bathing suits, some of them don't. There's swimwear, sportswear, fun fashion, um, evening gown, introduction. Some of them have lifestyles. Uh, it's an amazing scenario to see that it teaches you how to speak. It teaches you how to interview. It teaches
Yeah.
you to interact with other people.
Hmm.
Um, it teaches you how to dress, how to wear your hair, how to put on makeup, the lessons, how to walk,
Yeah.
the lessons that are taught from some of these coaches and from the girls are amazing. Some
Yeah.
of these girls end up becoming coaches because of things that they're taught throughout their season.
Yeah.
Some of the girls have actually come to me and worked for me.
Hmm.
And they help the girls to get dressed and what to wear and what not to wear. So they know how to help each other through everything and what the right thing is to do. And it's an amazing system. It really is.